Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar this morning. We are delighted to have one of our partners with us, Versapay, and they are going to be presenting on Versapay webinar, Reduced AR Cost and Increased Efficiency with Versapay's Advanced Cash App. And just as a reminder, we are recording this webinar, and you can find it in our webinar library under our resources tab on our website. So we encourage you to ask questions during the presentation. So feel free to type those into the questions box and we will get them answered during our Q&A time at the end of our session. So now I'm going to turn it over to Versapay and we're going to go ahead and start our presentation. I will let you know I was having some technical issues, so if anything comes up during the webinar, please ping me in the chat and let me know, okay? Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Chad Nicholson, Director of Strategy here at Versapay. I'm here with John Warner, our VP of Sales Engineering, and we're excited to bring the topic today to help you reduce AR costs up to 50% and increase efficiency by 75% with Versapay's new advanced cash application solution. So during the session today, we're going to cover the cash application challenges that are faced by B2B organizations, Versapay's approach to those challenges. John will be taking us through a live product demo as well. And at the end, we'll save time for Q&A, but don't let that hold you back from posing questions in the chat box. And we will look to address those throughout the conversation if we can, and get to them near the end of the session as they come through. So what are cash application challenges? Well, the world has changed. We're working remotely and we are trying to operate our businesses from home in a lot of cases, both on the supplier side and the customer side. And we termed this new concept here at Versapay, which is the AR customer gap, where you are on the left-hand side and your customer is on the right-hand side. And as it relates to the accounts receivable process, there is a lack of connection that drives a lot of delays and manual effort. And that comes from issuing invoices and hoping that they're getting to your customers, discrepancies around those invoices. Maybe they have questions or issues, or they want to open disputes, insufficient backup documentation. So many times your customers require more information along with an invoice before they can issue payment to you. Invoices are literally stuck on someone's desk or in the mail, and there's lots of delay in the mail system right now during COVID-19. Check is in the mail, so invoice going out, but check coming back as well, and missing or incomplete remittance information. So this is a very disconnected process, the AR customer gap, and this is something that hasn't changed in decades. And there's even more shifts in the macro environment that are driving lots of strain on AR teams as well. So AR reconciliation challenges are increasing as B2B payments shift. So as individuals, we have fully adopted different forms of payment to transact with each other. Venmo and Cash App and other things that we move money peer-to-peer. But in the business environment, check has long been the primary payment method, but it is slowly dwindling and dying. But that also introduces new payment methods as well that AR teams need to handle. New payment methods are often ACH being pushed into your bank account, credit cards, wire transfers. These aren't new, but virtual cards is something that's new as well and rapidly growing, where a customer is issuing you a payment via an email typically, and it's a credit card payment that you need to process and reconcile back into your ERP system. So we've talked about it for a long time, that checks are going to die, the death of the check, and it is becoming true. And that's as a result of a lot of the shift in dynamic as companies are looking to digitize and operate and continue their business remotely. With cash application specifically, the disconnect is more related to the disconnect between a payment itself, the payment that's in your bank account, and the remittance information that's associated with it. And it's very labor intensive for your staff, your AR collections, and the broader operations and sales team to reconcile the payment with the remittance information. Now, you're even lucky in some cases to get remittance information. So it's manually intensive. It's prone to errors and very, very time consuming for AR people to reconcile that payment with the remittance information. So remittance can come as an email, it can come as a coupon or a stub on a check in your lockbox. They're often image-based. Your customers might even ask you to go into their AP systems to get remittance information. There's lots of different formats of data files. And as I list all of these things here, I think it starts to become true to you that these are challenges and there's a major disconnect. So what Versapay has done is we've developed an online connected platform that connects you and your customer over the cloud to drive efficiency, accelerate your cash flow, and ultimately improve the customer experience. So getting paid and cash applications, the last mile of the invoice to cash cycle. So a lot of things need to go correct before you can even get paid. But even when you're getting paid, there are issues that come up. So if you can issue invoices and connect with your customers over the cloud, create real-time visibility between you and your customer, process payments in a straight-through way back into your ERP system, and sync this information in a closed-loop way, it will drive that efficiency that you're looking for. Your customers as well, they get access to that same shared information online. There's collaboration between you and a customer. If they have issues or questions, they can post them in an online chat or comment box and connect with you and your AR team to resolve those issues to lead into that payment back into your business. So this is more of a visual look at what the platform is and what the experiences are. And John will be going through a demo of the platform and what the experience is for you and your customer. But there's a supplier portal, and we would call the supplier you in this case, that connects to your ERP system. We pull in your invoicing, your customer, and your payment information, and have a two-way sync with that with your ERP. And that's a real-time view into your accounts receivable in a shared way. Your customers too are invited into this online environment, and they get access to their specific data in the right context in that online experience as well. So when you enable a platform like this, it starts to create two types of payments. Payments that come online through a secure online customer portal. And those payments are natively automatically 100% accurate and clear because your customers are in the portal, they're selecting exactly what they're paying right down to the line item level, and they're short paying even or opening up a dispute. But it's all at the line item level. So you're getting paid exactly what the customer is selecting. And those payments are 100% reliable. It's the payments that are made outside of the platform that create those more of those challenges for you as an organization. So payments that are pushed into your bank account or your lockbox, and then the associated remittance information might come with a check, but it also might come separately into an email inbox or going into other systems to collect that remittance information to tie it to your invoice and payment. And so Versapay has this advanced cash application offering that too is connected into this online environment. We bring in all of your invoice and customer and payment information into the cloud. And then for the payments that are happening outside of the platform, not online through the self-service portal, we have AI technology to automate and match those payments to the invoices. So we'll connect in with your banks and AP portals. We'll pull that information into the Versapay platform. That might be a lockbox. It might be ACH deposits, EDI, wire, mentioned AP portals as well. There's lots of different sources for payment information coming to you. And then we connect in and associate that with the customer information that we receive as well in the form of remittance. So that might be Excel documents that are emailed to you, or PDF remittance, and it comes to you and your organization. So with a connected platform, we can automate the cash application with these, and the result is very powerful. I already mentioned that 100% of the payments will be matched when they're made in an online way. And then through AI and machine learning, we can automatically match nearly the rest, get to over 80% adoption of automation, and get to a total or combined straight through process of 90% plus. So it's a really powerful platform for you to take advantage of, and it addresses all of your payments for customers who come online, but payments for customers who are making them outside of the platform in a non-digital way. So John's going to walk you through the platform, what that experience looks like for you as an organization, how you are able to see your payments and get the application rates that I've been describing, and then a little bit about how we help your customer in that engagement too, should there be any issues of the balance of payments. So we've got some collaboration tools to help you and connect with your customer to apply the remainder. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and pass it over to John. And John, I will confirm once I can see the screen on your side.
Hopefully that came up okay.
Got it.
Okay. So like Chad had mentioned, our portal has a couple different views. This is the supplier view of the portal, or what you would be seeing. And then there's also the customer view of the portal, what your customers would be seeing. And certainly, regardless of how they're paying, the customer view of the portal is there for them to be able to see all the historical invoices, ones that are open, ones that have been paid, and they can certainly go on here and pay invoices. But you'll see that the portal also becomes a nice vehicle for just collaboration, even when there's offline payments involved and some follow-up is needed. So what the Cash App does is let us deal with everything that is happening, we think of as offline. And if I take a look at a couple of examples, lockbox, where the bank is sending a PDF or a zip file with images of checks and remittance documents that they've scanned as part of that process. So in this case, I have a zip file, and if I look at a couple of the images, I can see theoretically the check come up. There we go, for $40,000, and the associated remittance information explaining what that's for, in this case covering a whole variety of invoices. One nice thing we'll talk about this is that we really just need the images. We don't need the bank to do any keying or provide any additional information. The OCR is good enough to just scan all that. So sometimes that can be a savings. But a couple other examples, in addition to dealing with banks, maybe you're scanning checks right in the office, we might be getting wire payments, bank-to-bank ACH. So sometimes the remittance information actually comes in the form of an email, but that's fine. We can also ingest that, OCR it, and figure out what to do with it. So just an example where somebody's letting us know, we're sending you a payment, should get there in the next 2 to 3 days, and it's covering these 3 invoices. And then finally, it also could be in the form of EDI. Not quite as friendly to look at, but again, the system can go through, scan that, and figure out what money's being received and which invoices the money should be applied to. So that's what some of the source documents would look like. Again, really no pre-specified formats. We can ingest any kind of remittance information and figure it out. So then when I go over into the Cash App application, this is where things start to get loaded up. So the lockbox see, that the file's been uploaded, and we've pulled in all those copies of checks, remittance information. Likewise, if I go over into the advice matching, I can see all the various emails that are out there. In fact, I think if I look at this one, there's the email that we were just taking a look at. So it's been pulled into the system. And if you notice on the right, we have all the remittance information coming in, a combination of emails and EDI. Over on the left, we have funds that have been deposited into the bank account. So what the system's doing is it can run through and automatically start to match them and say, oh, I have remittance information from Tangerine Stores. They, said that they sent out $9,900. I have a deposit in the bank from Tangerine Stores. I'm going to go ahead and match those two up against each other. Now, when that process kicks off, a couple things happen. At this point, that could have been like Tangerine Stores was to pay off 3 different invoices. Right? And they were nice enough to give us information. The Versapay cloud platforms pulled all those invoices out of the ERP. Now it can help go through and say, do we actually have invoices that match what they put in the remittance information? Or if we don't get any kind of backup documentation, we at least, can say, well, we know that that vendor's given us money. We're just not sure how to apply it yet. We can at least put it on their file. So after I run that process, everything's going to go into one of 2 queues. It'll either go into a manual validation queue or an automated validation queue. The difference is in the manual, does somebody need to look at this information and make some decisions? Automated using the OCR and the machine learning features and things that we have, nobody had to touch it. It just went through and the system was able to figure out how to apply the remittances to the various invoices. So a couple examples just to show you some of the features in here. I'll start in the manual queue. So in this one, if I open up the remittance document, it's 3 or 4 pages of remittance data. And almost all of it went through without any human interaction, right? And we'll talk a little bit about how it's able to do some of these things, but it didn't matter that they changed our invoice numbers around a little bit and stuck extra characters on them. We were able to deal with, the fact that we're taking some discounts and things. The only reason this flagged it was we put a rule in place that said, if there's a short pay or an overpay, we want a human to look at it. We could have automated that rule. But in this case, there's 2 lines in red, and the reason they're in red is because on an invoice for $8,190, they only paid us $5,190. And right within here, if there was any kind of note or something on the document, I could go in there and explain what was the reason for the deduction. Was it just a short pay? Was there some sort of dispute? And then we could go ahead and flow that in through the system. So that's, other than that, everything's pretty automated on there. The next scenario. Unfortunately, all too common. Somebody having to go and figure things out. There's a few different automation rules firing off here. One, it was able to recognize the MICR information and say, I know in the past we've used that for educational design firm, so that I can at least figure out which customers this check associated with. And even if that hadn't been the case, you can actually search within any of these. So I could have come in and just looked at information on the check and tried to figure it out myself. So any of these columns are searchable, whether it's the dates, anything on the header here. But if I go ahead and turn that back on again, you can see there's a couple different rules that could fire off automatically. One could be, let's apply it to the oldest invoice first. Another that's pretty popular is this invoice amount match, where it scans through the invoices on file and says, can I find one unique combination that's exactly this dollar amount? If I find more than one way of being able to get there, I can't make an assumption. But if there's only one possible combination, then it's probably a fairly safe assumption that that's what they intended to do. So you could automate that rule, and that way nobody has to stop and research it if you think it's going to be right 95% of the time. So in this case, there were 2 invoices and a credit that let us get to this amount. One other example, just to show in here. In this case, if we look at the original document, they did provide remittance information, but it made it a little bit challenging that our invoice numbers are like 9610752, and so forth. They gave us INV-25273, so it doesn't exactly match up too well. So when the system scanned the document, it could at least figure out where the useful information was, but it needs a little extra help the first time it deals with something from Farmer's Outlet. So I can come in here and say, all right, well, you're right. This is where the invoice columns live, and this is where the amount columns are located. And then just to give you a little extra help, ignore things up to the hyphen, and a partial search is okay. So over here, it hasn't been able to find any invoices yet. Once I give it that little bit of extra logic, now I can go through the list and figure out which of the 3 invoices that payment was associated with. And what's really nice with this is that it'll remember it. So the next month when we get a document from Farmer's Outlet, I've already trained the system how to analyze their remittance information. Nobody's going to have to spend time on this. It'll go through automatically. And that's a little bit of what we mean about training the system and using some of the AI and machine learning in here. Last example is just even on a somewhat messy email like this, the system's able to initially go through and pull out what potentially are useful fields. So rather than me reading through all this, trying to figure out and search who's the vendor, I can just click on the highlighted number here and say, let's try doing a search using that as an account number. Great, it really is Tangerine Stores. It was buried in here somewhere, but rather than me trying to squint and find it, I just find that's a much more useful way, easier way of getting to the information. And the result of all that, just to show one example, if I go over into the auto validation queue, these are ones where nobody had to spend any time on it. The system was able to process everything automatically. Nobody had to touch it. So this example kind of mixes everything. They sent us a check. They were nice enough to give us remittance information. Unfortunately, they weren't nice enough to change the ink in their or the toner in their printer. And if I open this up, you can see they have also kind of played with their invoice numbers. Sometimes they shorten them, sometimes they put characters after them, and all of that. But like we showed before, we've trained the system how to deal with all that. So it was able to go through and apply the money correctly. And if you look down below, most of these had said, great, I can deal with the short numbers, the extra characters, the discounts, everything's going through automatically. When I get down to this line, I know I still have some money left and I can't read what they've put. I'm going to automatically now flip to the advice matching logic and say, okay, there's only one combination of invoices that matches what's left. That kicked in. Nobody had to touch this, even though there were 5 or 6 different pieces of logic that had to fire to make that happen. So the result is we tend to find about a 92, 93% success rate with auto matching. So that really, really cuts down the manual effort needed dealing with trying to figure out either going into the system and manually reading an email and applying it to the right invoices, or having to just call the customer and ask them what they needed. Now, if you do get those situations where a check comes in with no documentation, we just can't figure out what to do with it, that's where the Versapay platform can help with the follow-up. So just like you might sort through invoices and kind of use this to help you with collections, you can do the same thing with payments. So I can go in here and say, do I have any payments that require follow-up? I can assign those payments. In fact, I think in here I've already assigned a few of these to myself. Or I can, so I can actually create work queues for these things. And if I have a payment that requires some additional input from the customer, what's nice is I can see an image of the check, right? And from here, I can reassign it if I want to call them follow up. I can talk to the customer on the phone and then make the application of cash for them. Or the feature that I really like is I can actually have it just fire off an email and ask the customer. The customer will get an email that looks something like this. It says, hey, we received this check for $6,000. We're not sure how to apply. Could you help us out here? They click on the link and they get taken to a page that looks like this, where they can see a copy of the check or the email or the remittance information. And they can actually, rather than type out a link to email or play phone tag with us, just click on apply cash and say, you know what, it was for this, it was for this, it was for this. At least for me, I find rather than writing an email where I've got to key in 609044-004 and 609, it's a lot easier for me to just go click, 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 and I'm done. A 20-minute email just turned into a 30-second, let you know what I meant to do with the money. So that's where, even if someone's paying offline, we feel like the portal adds a lot of value just in that collaboration and follow-up. So even on that small percentage where we can't figure out how to automatically apply the money, this really even still further cuts down the time needed to help research those things and follow up with them. So that's a quick look at some of the different scenarios, some of the matching logic, the ability to deal with all types of payment streams. With that, I think I'll flip it back over to Chad to wrap up. I'll just stop sharing here.
Thanks, John. Yeah, there's just a couple more slides that I think it's worth hitting on again, and then we'll get to some questions. John, you seen one or?
We're in your presenter mode.
All right, we'll switch display.
Selection. There you go.
So I mentioned at the front of the call or the start of the webinar that there's a dramatic shift happening in B2B payments, and as a result, there's again lots of research that's going on. And one data point that I wanted to bring forward to you was that 96% of CFOs say they're now digitizing their accounting operations. So that would be both in the AR and the AP side of the transaction, but AR specifically, there's definitely a need for transformation, and that's what Versapay delivers. And when you're able to deliver transformation, it changes everything for you and your organization. So it drives that efficiency and cash flow, and it improves the customer experience. But more specifically, with some stats, we see that 50% of your time, you save 50% of your time managing your receivables, increase the speed of payment by 25%, decrease past due invoices by 30%. And that adoption rate that we described of that online customer portal experience, Versapay sees an adoption rate of over 80%. So a really strong value proposition for you to consider when it comes to a invoice to cash solution. And we really focus today on the cash application offering that Versapay provides, but wanted to share those stats with you when you consider this type of offering. We'd love a chance to connect with you directly. You can book a demo by contacting John or myself, and our contact info will be made available. But our website is a great source of information as well to learn more about our solutions and our offerings that we provide here at Versapay. And so wanted to again thank you for attending the session today. I'm Chad Nicholson, and this is John Warner. We'd love to connect with you directly. Feel free to reach out to us directly or contact us on our website, and we'll be happy to get in a more detailed conversation with you and the specifics about you and your business and how we might be able to help you optimize your AR process. Have a great day.
All right, everyone. Thank you, Versapay, for that presentation. Stacy, Chad, we did have a couple of poll questions if you wanted me to go ahead and launch those.
Sure.
Okay. First, let me stop my video. Okay, there we go. So the first one is, if you could improve one thing about your AR today, what would it be? And you can select from the 4 options there. More automated process, improve payment time from customers, better tracking of collection activities, or other. All right. And let's see, which one did it show? Okay, we have 50% of more automated process and 50% for improved payment time from customers. Thank you for that. One more poll question. How likely are you to consider an AR automation tool in the next 12 months? Not likely, somewhat likely, or highly likely. Okay, and it looks like we said not likely.
Fair enough.
All right. Does anybody have any questions that you'd like to address? I don't see any questions that have come through the questions panel, but if you do have any, please go ahead and get those in.
And maybe while we wait for that, Angie, I'll just do a couple quick introductions and give people a little bit of time to enter any questions. My name is Stacy Dozie. I am a partner manager here at Versapay, and with me I have Chad. So Chad, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself. You did a little bit on the video.
Yeah, everyone, Director of Strategy. So very familiar with our products and how they solve client AR problems, and happy to be here.
Thank you for having us, Angie. We appreciate you taking the time, and we appreciate anyone who was able to attend. Thank you.
All right, Stacy and Chad, it appears we do not have any questions for you today. If anybody has any after the fact, please feel free to contact us or your account manager, and we would be more than happy to address those questions with you. And I just want to thank the Versapay team for the presentation today, and for everyone on today's webinar, or if you're watching on demand, we thank you for taking the time out to join us. Check out our website for more of our upcoming events, and that's anovia.com/events. We also have our training workshop page at anovia.com/workshops. So visit that page to register for the training workshop that fits your role. And don't forget about our Anovia Conversation podcast, We have a library of podcasts for you to listen to, and you can find out about all those on our podcast page, and that's innovia.com/podcast. Our conference page is now up on our website, and for more information and to register, you can visit innovia.com/conferences. All right, well, we thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you soon on another Innovia webinar. Take care, everyone.